Good afternoon, everyone. So glad you have joined us today to learn about how our bodies are like machines. This is a photo of our Ergonomics and Safety Lab group at the University of Utah. We are graduate students in the Mechanical Engineering Department studying human motion under the direction of Dr. Andrew Merriweather. I am Dorothy Taylor, a PhD student working on reducing the fall risk of the frail elderly patient by identifying potential falls during sit to stand and walk, and designing a safe hospital patient room environment. As part of this work, I collaborate with hospital architects, physical therapists, and the frail elderly. Other women engineers in our lab include Roya on the left here. She is working on a patient assistant mobile device that brings an assistive device to a person in need. And Melinda on the right is working on understanding user intent through neurological signals and by using machine learning. They are both PhD students as well. Also in our lab is Doreen. She is a graduate student working on her master's degree. And Sarvanaz on the right, she is a PhD student working on minimizing patient fall risk through development of an algorithm that will optimize hospital room design. So that's a little on who we are and what we do. All of our research at the Ergonomics and Safety Lab involves the study of human biomechanics during various activities. Now, I hope you're wondering what exactly is human biomechanics. The term biomechanics comes from the prefix bio, which means life, and the root word mechanics, which means motion and the forces that produce motion. Thus, biomechanics is the application of mechanical principles in the study of living organisms. Now, I know when you hear the word mechanic, you're probably thinking of people who fix cars. Well, although we are not referring to the people who fix cars, it just so happens that the same mechanical principles that we apply to cars and other machines can be applied to human bodies. To help you understand these mechanical principles of biomechanics, I'd like you to think about a car. When you look at a car moving down the street, you can see it move, but what is causing the motion? In order to understand how the car is able to move, you have to consider what's under the hood that generates forces that move the car, or what's in the door that makes the doors lock and unlock, or the windows roll up and down. These are just a few examples of mechanical devices that provide forces that enable movement. In addition to these internal forces that move the car, there are external forces that influence how the car moves, including gravity, which helps keep the car on the road, and other objects that may come in contact with the car. These could be something simply sitting on the road, or it could be something that's moving that crosses the car's path, such as another car. This definitely influences the way the car moves. Like the example of the car, both internal and external forces are important in the study of human motion as well. As we look at how the mechanisms of a car function, we can see similarities between machines and human bodies. So here on the left is a schematic of a variable stroke car engine. You can see rigid bars and the various joints that connect them. On the right is a picture of a door lock actuator for a car. This actuator provides a force needed to move the lock between the locked and unlocked positions. Like the mechanical devices in cars, human bodies have rigid segments, which we call bones, that are connected to a variety of joint types. Like the mechanical actuators in cars that generate force to move things, human bodies have muscles that generate force to move various body segments. In addition to mechanical systems, further parallels between cars and human bodies can be made. Like cars, human bodies have other systems at work. These include an electrical system where the brain sends signals to the nerves, a system of fluids, including the heart, which pumps blood through veins and arteries, as well as the lungs, which move oxygen into the bloodstream. Today, we will focus only on the mechanical system. So what are the objectives of studying the mechanical system of the human body? Why do we study motion? Well, there are two main reasons. Simply put, we want to first help people move as efficiently as possible, enabling them to do more and for longer periods of time. And second, we want people to be safe. We want to decrease chance of an injury as they perform various movements. So just like we want our car to keep running and functioning for many years, we also want our bodies to keep going and functioning for many years. With the knowledge and understanding we gain by studying human biomechanics, we can provide guidance and tools that help people live longer and safer lives at home, in the workplace, and in a variety of recreational activities. In fact, the study of human biomechanics helps reduce the cost of on-the-job injuries, which is right around $50 billion each year. The part of the body that has the most prevalent work-related injuries is the back, which accounts for 39% of work-related injuries. Biomechanics Research provides scientifically based, data-driven recommendations on how to move when performing a certain task, whether at work or home or recreation, to reduce the risk of injury. This research also provides guidelines for safe environments, and it provides innovative assistive devices, tools, and processes that align with these optimized human movements. Some of the impactful research from our lab includes products and processes such as these that help the elderly and those with disabilities, as well as those in the workplace. All of these projects required a thorough understanding of how people move. So today we would like to go through a lifting example that you can try at home and experience firsthand how understanding the principles of biomechanics can help you move more efficiently and safely for a longer, healthier life.
So let's go through a simple example together of how we actually go about analyzing the body and how similar it is to a machine. So I want you to stand up, find an object, a water bottle, shoes, textbook. Not too heavy, we don't want you to get hurt. Stand up straight and hold it in front of you with your arms stretched out. How does your back feel? How do your arms feel? Kind of assess that. And then now hold the box close to you. How do your arms feel? How do your back feel now? It should feel easier to hold the box or whatever object it is closer to you. Um, and we can explain this with biomechanics. So let's take a look at that. You probably know that your muscles are what allows you to generate force and what allows you to pick up a box or move something or hold your arms out in front of you. And so then in our back, the main muscle we're interested in is the erector spinae, and it runs right along the spine. And this is the muscle that's actually putting in a lot of force for you to be able to hold the box with your arms straight in front of you. So let's go back to our stick figure. Now I've added this orange dotted line, and that represents your erector spinae, and then the white line is your spine or your torso. But we'll say it's just your spine for this. And we can actually turn this figure, this action of holding a box in front of you into a very simple lever arm, which is kind of a mechanical analysis that we can do. And think of a lever arm kind of like a seesaw. So on one side you have your erector spinae, on the other side you have your box or your object, and then the seesaw or lever kind of balances on a fulcrum, which is what it's going to pivot around. And in that case, for us, it's the spine. And so for the system to be balanced, we're going to need the moments. The moment of that the erector spinae creates has to equal the moment that the box creates. And a moment is the force that the object applies times the distance it is from our fulcrum or our spine. And those need to be balanced in order for us to be able to hold this box in front of us. So in these kind of problems, we assume that our erector spinae muscle is 2 inches from our fulcrum or spine, and the box is, let's say, at 24 inches. If we make our box or object 20 pounds, how much force do you think our back or erector spinae would have to exert to keep the system balanced? So remember that in order for it to be balanced, the moments need to be the same. So let's go through the math. So you write out your variables. So the force of the erector spinae times the distance it is from the fulcrum has to equal the force of the box times the distance the box is from the fulcrum. We fill out in our values 2 inches, and then 20 pounds and 24 inches for the box. Then we rearrange, so we bring the force of the erector spinae to one side and all the other numbers to the other side. And that leaves us with 240 pounds. So, in order to hold this box 20 pounds in front of us with our arms straight, we'd have to exert 240 pounds of force in our back. That seems like a lot just to hold the box. And that's because our fulcrum is so close to our back muscles and so far away from the box. So let's bring the box closer. Now let's say our box is at 12 inches. We still have our erector spinae at 2 inches, and we're trying to find the force that our erector spinae muscle is exerting for us to hold this box at 12 inches from our body. We do the same math. We have our variables, then we fill in our numbers. In this case, it's 2 inches, 20 pounds, and 12 inches. We rearrange and then we solve it, and now we end up at 120 pounds, so it halves it because the box is a lot closer to our body now. And our erector spinae, as I said earlier, has to exert so much more force than the box is exerting because it's so much closer to the erector spinae and the box is so far away. Um, and that's why it's so important that we lift things properly, is because of typically that imbalance of how far our objects are from our body and how close that muscle is, because we can't change how far the muscle is from our spine. That's just the way our bodies are built. And if we lift things incorrectly because of this principle, we could get injured. But as you noticed, all of these two problems we did, we went to a very simple mechanical system, but really our bodies are much more complex. So let's kind of add a few things to this and make it a little bit more realistic. So typically when you pick up a box, you also have your knees bent and your torso is leaning forward. So in this scenario, we have our box with load L. We have to now also consider our upper body weight, the angle of our hips, the angle of our upper body or torso, or maybe the spine is easier to think about it, and the direction of our muscle force. So now we've got a lot more factors we need to add into that. And then our picture looks something like this. And so with all these extra variables, it looks a little bit more complex. And there's more calculations if we want an accurate number. But we can use the simple principle that we want the weight close to our body, and close to our fulcrum, our spine, so that our back can exert less force in order to complete the motion or pick up the box. So with that in mind, let's look at 3 different postures, and I want you guys to think about which one would be the safest way to pick up a box, or which one would result in the least amount of back force required. So we have 3 postures, A, B, and C. So pause the video, think about it, think about the principle of keeping the weight close to your body, and make a decision. But the correct answer is B. And that has the posture B would give us the lowest back forces during a lift. Why? Well, if we look at the little levers I drew under the bodies, B has the upper body weight and the box the closest to the spine as possible. And that's the main takeaway of lifting biomechanics. You want to keep the load close so that you kind of balance that seesaw a little bit more, or balance that lever arm more, and your back can exert a smaller force. So the scenario I'm showing you is actually really important analysis we do in biomechanics to make sure that people are lifting objects correctly. This is especially important if people need to lift heavy things or if they need to lift things often at a high frequency. So this is something that a lot of focus is put on in biomechanics. And so we just went through some really simple examples of how we can compare the human body and analyze it as if it was a machine. So we can really understand what's going on. But because of the complexity of the human body and that everyone's body is actually different, there's so many tools we can use to analyze and understand it and make all of that easier. So one of the tools we use is called EMG, electromyography, and it lets us look at the amount of activity in a muscle. So how much force is that muscle producing, or how active is that muscle for a certain motion? So we can now differentiate between muscles, instead of just assuming it's all one big muscle. We also use little reflective dots to track people, and then we can rebuild their skeleton in a computer system that we have that can thoroughly analyze it. And then we can look at their joint angles, the velocity of their body, the moments on their joints, and a whole bunch of other stuff. We also use force plates. These are like very, very, very fancy Wii boards, and they tell us how much force your body is exerting into the ground and in what directions. And then there's tons of other sensors we can use. There's sensors just to measure acceleration. There's sensors and systems to measure the amount of oxygen consumption, and all kinds of other stuff that we can do that helps us analyze human motion and how the body is responding to things.
Okay, so from the wide variety of methods available to analyze human motion, probably one of the most used methods in research is the 3D motion capture method. This method records position data by using reflective markers on the person to be evaluated. You can see on this full body study that markers are placed on bony structures to help define the skeletal model. With this information, the model is created in Visual 3D software, where we can then run the biomechanical analyses with respect to the motion and forces during the recorded movement. This is a video of the created model from the collected position data during the sit-to-stand task. With this information, we can identify joint angles, velocity, ground reaction forces, and a variety of other important metrics that characterize dynamic stability during sit-to-stand, a very important aspect of performing a successful sit-to-stand. Otherwise, the person becomes unstable and will likely fall. This is part of my current research to identify when a person is at high risk for falling based on their movement. This research could be of great benefit in developing assistive devices, designing environments, and establishing protocols when caring for the frail. In summary, our bodies and machines have many similarities. Simply put, our bodies are amazing machines. As we apply mechanical principles to human motion, we will improve human performance of movement and make performing activities safer. Biomechanical analyses depend heavily on science and math to describe movement, define physical capabilities, design efficient products and processes, and to keep us safe. The study of biomechanics empowers us with knowledge about how to make our interactions with the world around us safer and more efficient. Biomechanics helps improve the quality of life at work, home, and during other activities.
Hi, my name is Doreen Butter, and I'm studying biomechanics because I think the human body is fascinating, and I like the idea that we can improve people's lives.
Hey, my name is Mohammed. My fun biomechanics fact is brain floats inside the skull like a buoy in water.
Hi, my name is Savenas, and my fun biomechanic fact is human bone is 5 times stronger than steel by weight. How crazy is that?
Hi, my name is Nick, and I enjoy studying biomechanics because I am a prosthetist and I work with amputees. So I am very interested in all the ways that you can replace or supplement the human body to restore function.
If you would like more information about biomechanics research at the University of Utah, please contact Dr. Merriweather or Liz Reiser. We would be happy to give you a tour of our lab and answer any questions you may have. Thanks for participating in our virtual SheTech workshop today. Stay healthy and stay safe, everyone.